Hello everyone, I'm Kalen North, and welcome back to Dyson Sphere program, Rise of the Dark Fog. Today we're doing part 3 of our max difficulty run. This time we're doing something a little different on the commentary. I've recorded this video in advance, and I am doing this commentary with a friend of mine, Festivity, and we are going to be discussing what we're doing over the game, but I'm not going to be playing it live as I'm commentating. So hello Festivity, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Doing well. So this session, we're three session, or this is the third session. Here I'm changing out what I'm using for fuel because I want that replicator speed bonus. I think I might have talked about that in a previous video. I don't know if you've noticed that with the dark fog debris, that you can actually get a bonus to your replicator speed.
Yeah, and I actually had not read that note myself at the time, but I've started using that a bit myself. I'm also doing a max difficulty run right now, so I know a little bit about what's happening, but haven't made it that far. And yeah,
sure, yeah. And so here I'm. Let's see. I'm setting up some more turrets. My experience has been that every time I don't set up more turrets, things go horribly wrong. Slight spoiler here is that I've made a couple attempts at recording this video before that went south, so this is not my absolute first encounter with some of this content anymore, unfortunately. But trying to show a little bit more of this max difficulty stuff and have fun with it.
And that makes sense. I think that's one of the old standard things in an RTS is that the more you have of stuff, the more effective your stuff is. There's no real diminishing return on the number of defenses that you have. It's just
just in
if
terms
you
of how
can
many
throw
turrets
down
I'm setting
twice
up.
as many turrets, your enemies live half as long, so they get to shoot half as many shots, and you get to effectively have twice as much life per unit. Excellent. You love it.
Yeah. So here I definitely was going for way more defenses on the base. I've started doing this weird little alternating Tesla tower pattern to power my turret batteries. I don't know if that's really optimal, but I'm kind of worried that at some point the Dark Fog will intelligently start shooting the power supplies instead of shooting the turrets. That doesn't seem to have happened yet in my experience, but it seems like it could, so...
Yeah, and I haven't seen anything like that either. In my game, I've got maybe a less dense build going, where I've been sort of layering layers of turrets with wind farms in between them. So we'll have a line of windmills and then turrets above and below. And it means that mine are a little more spaced out. I get a bit of power gen. It gives me a place to put the turrets, which I like. Because one of the things I'm a little worried about is that I'll wind up with, so much space dedicated to windmills that it'll be hard to defend.
Yeah. Now, so something I've been thinking about with regards to that won't come up for a little while here is this idea of maybe switching to more thermal power. On this seed in particular, I got kind of lucky with there's a bunch of coal veins right near spawn. And I'm actually thinking that it might make more sense to just do a really dense power setup and just burn coal for the time being. I don't know that that's really optimal, but it's something I want to try. So that'll probably come up in a future video. But for now, just trying to get more turrets set up. Something I don't think we commented on while I was doing the introduction is trying to get the techs all set up. I queued up a bunch more techs right away when I unpaused the save file. And some of that was I wanted to get this energy shield tech going as soon as possible. I am letting flight finish first, because I think that getting the flight to be able to travel from one side of the base to the other more quickly is going to be huge. But the other thing I wanted to do is I really wanted to set up this next tier of combat building. I haven't, at this point in the run, I had not actually ever gotten to it. And so, on this or any other save file. Well, we'll see how it turns out later on. But I really wanted to rush into that steel, the smelting purification, the semiconductor material, and basically get all the materials we needed to actually build those. I think they're battlefield control towers, or I can't remember exactly what they're called.
Yeah, there's a building like that. It looks like it has a bunch of cool benefits. I've also not made it to that point though, because I'm on my first run where I didn't get crushed immediately after building my first iron smelters. Like, I scaled the wrong way, I think, in my previous attempts, and I'm doing better now that I've got a more of a turret focus.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed, like, some of the things that this has changed playing on this, like, super high difficulty setting. I don't know that it is... It feels like a very different game. Like, you mentioned RTSs a little bit earlier. It feels more like an RTS and less like a factory game. Which I'm not inherently opposed to, but it definitely is not the Dyson Sphere program I'm used to.
Yeah. And is probably, right, like a side effect of playing on a very high difficulty setting for it to change, so much. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how the max difficulty run continues to go, and then maybe sometime how a non-max difficulty playthrough feels. Because there's still so much to figure out about, how are they blending in combat mechanics with the general factory building thing.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, we got Mecha Flight, and I'm fixing a Tesla tower. I just was off by a square. That, of course, bugs me to no end. So
in flight mode, mecha speed is boosted by
here we're going and getting another little voiceover. I'm trying to balance ammo around to get these new turrets armed faster, crafting some more ammo in my inventory. One thing that I think I've not done enough of with this save file is I need to set up more ammunition automation, and I just haven't gotten to that yet.
Yeah.
There are a couple more copper veins near spawn on this map, and so I'm really looking forward to trying to use those and try and make some progress towards more effective ammunition. Another thing I've been thinking about, and I don't know if this is going to actually pan out or not, is the idea of using logistics drones, the really low-level ones, to just have like a dedicated ammo section that distributes ammunition to all of my turret bases. And that's sort of why I've been setting up these. That's why I've been setting up these like box structures so far, to try and like get that set up and ready to go.
The charging speed depends
yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Something else I found really irritating up through this point in the game is picking up all of the debris that the dark fog drops. It's really useful to have it, but it is a pain to find the random thing, and I can't find a tooltip or something that allows me to just like have the game highlight where it all is. I know that when you like drop items from other methods, you sometimes can get a little tooltip. Oh, here we lost some turrets. So
man, and that is a huge attack. The way you're getting swarmed there, wow, you're losing like 6 turrets there. That's interesting because I actually have never lost more than 1 turret in a wave. I'm maybe a little bit earlier, and I'm not sure what it is about our different builds and experiences that's making that possible.
Yeah. So, well, something you mentioned to me earlier that I thought was interesting about on the save you're playing is this idea that the Dark Fog has spawned more planetary bases. I've still only got the 3 planetary bases, which, thank goodness, these waves are nearly wiping me out every time they come in. But on your save, I think you'd mentioned that they built up to 5 already?
Yeah, and that is true. I was surprised to see the first one go down, and then another one came down, and yeah, boy, they haven't been entirely overwhelming with unit production or anything, but I had been wondering, what are the limits, like on stabilizing, right? Because when you have an enemy in something like this, factory building game, you would expect the enemy to do one of a couple things. At least I would expect the enemy to either respond to what you're doing in sort of a proportional manner, or I would expect the enemy to have some pace that it advances at. And so when when I was doing my first runs where I got completely crushed, I was trying to outpace the enemy, and you get some reasonable hints that that's not the right way to go. They talk a little bit about threat, and you would expect something to maybe say that, you know, when you try to go fast, you might generate a lot of threat and a lot of enemy reaction to it. And so I was curious once I figured out that it really is sort of a threat generation and consumption mechanic. Like, what's to stop me from turtling for a long time? And I felt like I got my answer when those extra bases showed up.
Yeah, yeah. So
if there are 10 bases, I'm definitely going to have a bad day.
Yes, yes. So another thing that's going on here, I've started setting up the beginnings of steel production, just getting those extra iron miners down. I'm going to put some steel down next to those. We've got wireless power towers as well, which I think is a big deal. One of the issues I was having in trying to prep for this episode was running out of power and thus running out of shields, running out of construction drone ability to actually go and repair buildings and those kinds of things. And so all of that I think was kind of interesting. But yeah, so I've got a couple of steel smelters going now, trying to pull more ammunition out of the box, make sure everything's reasonably well armored up. That one is not armored up. We're running a little low on ammunition there. And that's another thing I'm kind of curious about, is whether I'm going to be able to actually keep up in terms of ammo overall as the run progresses further. Because it's just felt like, you know, one ammunition assembler has so far been enough. I can't imagine that's going to remain true, especially as I try to build out a larger perimeter.
Yeah, and I haven't done careful counting myself at this point to see, like, how many bullets does it take to take down an enemy, and then how frequently are the enemies coming. I have seen that. I think the ammunition item says that it stores 20 shots, and I think that a turret can consume something like 4 or 5 shots per second.
Okay.
And so there's some balance there where, you know, one assembler should be able to keep 4-ish turrets going nonstop. But there is a big duty cycle where sometimes they're going, sometimes they're not.
Yeah, so like the box for input into that whole array has just run out of bullets. And so I'm going to need to refill that here shortly. We're gonna do that. But even with
and
that,
then,
it feels like I don't have enough ammo. It feels like I don't have enough copper to get more ammo.
And you've got a bit of a logistics challenge that you've given yourself by creating a number of different places where you need to get ammo. You know, the box thing makes a lot of sense. I really like the idea of using some of those logistic drones to carry ammo to those different boxes. But until you get that set up, like, you will have to do that manually as a player, and that's like one more management burden for you to have to handle, you know?
Yeah, which all of this is getting in the way of me actually scaling my factory, which I don't, other than putting the steel in, I have done nothing to actually scale production this entire video so far. At least by my reckoning. I have put up more turrets, but that's all about defenses. Now, something on that note that I've been thinking about is actually trying to build sort of a turret perimeter wall, which I can just snake a belt through the entire thing and just, you know, manufacture bullets in the center of the base, have a nice perimeter, and just have them all automatically rearming. Some of my inspiration for that is like seeing Death World saves in Factorio, where you have all of these biters coming at you. If you have never played Factorio, just it's the enemy in the game. But because of where the water is, I don't know how to set up that perimeter very effectively. And I'd worry about how many turrets deep I needed the perimeter to be. So,
yeah.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Festivity?
Yeah, so it makes some sense, but I think that I wonder how the enemy is going to shift. I haven't seen the enemy like start coming in from space yet. When you're on the planet, it would make some sense to just, you know, run to the pole, for example, and then build a little turret wall along some tropic and then say that, everything above this tropic, is my base. And then everything at that tropic is defenses, and then the enemy will have to come to you that way. Of course, that won't eventually be true, probably, given the space-based nature of the game. And I almost favor a different model rather than trying to build a wall that I exist on one side of. I kind of like an idea of trying to build out defenses and then have my base exist on either side of the defenses in some way.
Okay. Which the way the AI is working here, where it really focuses on hitting turrets. Oh, we've got something fun here. 2 waves triggered at the same time, so there's 180 units currently approaching the base.
Oh boy.
This was a big wall I ran into when practicing for this video. Was just the idea of how do I handle this? Because it's a lot of dudes. There they are.
Look at them coming in.
That's the first half of them. Part of what I was doing there is I deliberately went out to try and pull aggro, I guess, towards this big bank of turrets over here, because I figured if anywhere on my base right now is going to be able to stop one of these waves, it's going to be this section of turrets. Now, I've already lost, looks like 7, 8. I'm rebuilding turrets as I go, but I've already lost a number of turrets there. And there's still a bunch of units coming. You can see actually the wave is shrinking a little bit because it's coming at the other side of the base. And they're actually holding off all right, which was fortunate, I think, for me there, is that I got a good single file line of enemies on that side of the base, and it wasn't nearly so bad or focused. So yeah, you can see that turret is almost dead, but not quite dead. So,
which is
just
perfect.
Barely survived. And here I start running out of inventory space.
Yeah.
Which has been a frustration I've been running into some with all of the loot that the Dark Fog drops. I love the loot. I think it's really cool that you can fight the enemy and get stuff. But
right,
also,
and you're getting good stuff too. You're getting microcrystalline components. You're getting prisms.
So
you're getting
I didn't start getting the microcrystalline components until I unlocked the tech for them, which was cool. So I think that there's some stuff built into the game that says, hey, don't give the player these drops until you've actually unlocked something that uses it or something that produces it. So steel, microcrystalline components, both were things that that came in a little bit later. All right, so here I am still trying to repair all the damage, trying to craft some more wind turbines, get the power up a little bit, finally using the 10x option. You can see I like to click the button too much before I remember, oh right, there's a more efficient way to do this.
Yeah.
I'm
definitely a big believer in the 10x button.
Oh yeah, the 10x button is great. Also out of ammunition up there again, unsurprisingly. And I'm running low on energy too. So that flight was canceled a little bit there. Here I do increase the automation capacity of that chest. I don't think I'm likely to ever hit it because I keep pulling bullets out too fast. But I did want to have that as just an option in case I do manage to get something stable enough. And then cleaning out more inventory. You can see I queued up inventory space upgrades next because it was driving me crazy to have to be running out of space to pick up all the loot. But something else cool that's just happened now is we've unlocked the battlefield analysis stations, which I don't recall exactly how long it takes me to decide to actually build one, but they're interesting. And here we go with queue up mechanical frame, trying to finish off some of these other early techs so that we can get on to just working purely on blue science and red science and so on. I've gotten enough random drops of things to actually build 2 of these stations, which is really cool. And so we'll see how that changes things here shortly.
Yeah, which is going to be interesting because I have not seen them in my own game. I've seen the tech for them. I think I just unlocked it, but I haven't put together the materials to be able to build that battlefield analysis station I'll be curious to see what it does.
Yeah. So we've got another wave coming in here pretty soon. I'm just recharging my mecha, spending a little time clicking through text, trying to figure out what to prioritize. I'm not sure how good this auto reconstruction marking thing is. I've thought about going for it. Oh, kinetic weapons damage. Finally trying to go for that. Get a little 10% boost. Get the missile turrets unlocked. Prototype. I think I just skipped that for now here. Yeah. I'm not sure whether that's going to actually be good. But I do want to start working towards unlocking red cubes at some point here. And I mentioned a little bit with thermal power earlier. I want to try and unlock that now. Oh, and getting splitters. Splitters are important.
Yes. Yeah, I am missing splitters in my save for sure. It's interesting to me that you're, I guess, not sure about the prototypes. I feel like they're going to turn out to be pretty darn good, and I'm excited to try them because they sounded like they would give me the ability to deploy little, like, combat helpers. And maybe the difficulty settings will be so high for us that it won't be useful in our save, but I've just got this eye towards, how am I eventually going to knock down those planetary bases and maybe live in peace a little bit more.
Yeah. So here, let's talk about this battlefield analysis base for a minute. I don't know what that locked option is, but it has 12 construction drones in it, which is the first thing I want to comment on. With all those damage our turrets were taking earlier, now we have automated drones to start doing some repairs, which is going to be a bit of a game changer in and of itself. The other thing the battlefield analysis base does is it's going to pick up loot for us. So as the enemies drop things, it has that huge, like, 60 item chamber to hold things. We're going to actually start getting things grabbed in there. You can see it just picked up a prism, and it's got a huge radius for being able to pick that up.
I love it.
And now you can also see some of these turrets are getting repaired as they're fighting and not by Icarus. They're getting repaired by the base. And for whatever reason, the enemy doesn't seem to be prioritizing the battlefield analysis base. But now look, there's a pile of loot. We're good. It's great.
Yeah.
I think that this thing is a game changer for this particular high difficulty run. You can see I get very excited after I see what that just did and how easy that wave felt, and just start building more of those immediately.
Yeah.
So there's still a fair amount of ammunition over there, so I'm just continuing to try and hope things keep running towards this huge battery of turrets I've got over here. And in the meanwhile, setting up a few more things. We're going to get that kinetic weapon damage upgrade here pretty soon. We've got another assault coming, 108 units, I believe that is. Or is that 106?
Probably another wave soon to follow behind.
Yeah, although
that base number 2 is at
it shouldn't be an issue.
86.7. Yeah, it's true.
Like, when they're a couple percent apart is when it's really scary, because then you basically get two waves at the same time.
Yeah.
When they're 10% or more apart, it's just not as intimidating. And here I realize I'm out of energy approximately, which is bad for recharging my shield and using my laser weapon. So enemies going over to that side, and we're just gonna let it go for a little bit, and hopefully it doesn't do too badly. I did lose a wind turbine there, and something else, but for the most part, this seems to be going all right again. We lost, I think, a couple of turrets. Yeah, 4 turrets and 2 wind turbines. But we rebuild those, and repair all of this, and then at some point in this, I'm going to remember about the battlefield analysis bases and start setting them up over here.
Perfect.
And for some reason, the game seems to be prioritizing repairing existing structures before building new ones. There's probably a setting somewhere that changes that. I just haven't found it yet. Because you can see that battlefield analysis base and the those wireless power towers I just placed just haven't been put down yet because my construction drones are all running off to repair things instead.
Yeah.
So I should maybe play around with the settings with that, see if I can take a minute or two to do that. But here we finish up with enough time, get a bunch of loot. They're 100 meters away, but we've got oodles and oodles of turrets, so I'm not too worried about it. And you can see the construction drone flock just going out to repair things. It's great. Drop down there, try and get my energy shield to protect some of the more damaged turrets. And this is one of the cleanest waves we've had so far, with just a few things getting damaged, everything repairing. Drop another battlefield analysis base over there to get it even more ridiculous. And honestly, I don't know exactly how strong this is going to be from here, but I'm significantly less worried about my flanks now. I feel like this setup is pretty darn strong.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest question mark in my mind now is ammo supply.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, is there some danger of running out of bullets? Is there some danger of, maybe is there some danger of the enemies going and sort of getting your wind turbines without engaging with your turrets? But none of the attacks have come from that angle, and the enemy attacks don't seem to try that many new angles from what I've seen. So
yeah, I don't know if the game's AI is going to get better on that, or if it just always prioritizes combat buildings, or what. I know some other factory games do that, where they prioritize the combat buildings, which can be a useful thing to shunt them away from the stuff that powers the combat buildings.
Yeah.
Those wireless power towers, I'm so happy with. In pre-combat update, pre-Dark Fog, I loved wireless power towers for dropping a huge blueprint and then just dropping some power towers and being fine while I built it. I'm probably not going to use blueprints this run, or if I do use blueprints this run, it's going to be just to copy, batteries of turrets or missile launchers or whatever. Because I don't want to pull any pre-made blueprints for it. But
yeah, copying batteries of turrets around seems like a really good idea, and something that might even be necessary for taking the fight to the enemy eventually. One of the fastest ways to get down an array of 20 turrets or something would be to just copy-paste that block you've got there and slap it down next to the enemy base or something, right?
Exactly. Something else I'm thinking of with that, though, honestly, is I'm wondering if it makes sense, on this difficulty setting at least, to simply not try and take the fight to them, and instead just allow them to keep on running into my turrets and dropping these useful items.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on how they wind up scaling. Because and how threat is generated, really. Because if it generates an enormous amount of threat to go attack them, and if that comes with its own specific reprisal, it might not be worth it to go knock those down until you're on maybe a couple tiers up in technology. But even with these pretty large waves, the drops that you're getting are good and useful, but they can't be more than a minute or two of factory time for what you would be getting from an off-world base, right?
That's true. And I guess that I'm not trying to compare to if I was playing a single player run and trying to go really, really fast, I might be off-world already at this point at an hour 23. But
yeah.
But that just doesn't seem like a fair comparison here, just because we are trying to play this little RTS thing at the same time, and that's going to slow us down. And so I don't know what the Dark Fog is going to look like on other planets. I don't know how hard it's going to be to just even get to those other planets with the Dark Fog. But we'll find out.
Yeah.
All right. At this point, I think I want to set up more turrets down below there at some point, just to try and get sort of a corners of the base covered, but I haven't gotten to that yet. Oh, also, I finally decided to start building wind turbines on water. You can build wind turbines on water now, at least once you've researched the steel tech.
And this is so exciting. Cool. I am so excited to do this.
Yeah. I absolutely love it. Take a bunch of space that you would have had to foundation or would have just been useless before, and now it's great. All right. So that's something I'm going to start now here, but not get to in this video probably, is getting thermal plants going. Just to try and... We're at 120 units coming now. So this is still nothing compared to that 180 wave, double wave, but this is a lot. And we are losing turrets again, or a turret. I think we lost a couple of wind turbines as well, but that battlefield control tower is doing so much to keep these turrets alive. Yeah, so that, again, that was a wave of 120 units, and it felt almost trivial in some ways. So, at this point...
And it's kind of remarkable that you're still able to defend your base with just the, one assembler dedicated to crafting bullets.
Yeah. That's been for me, a pleasant surprise, is that I haven't really needed to amp up ammo production as badly yet. I do think that's about to change, or at least change over the course of the next hour or so of gameplay, but I'm also expecting over the next hour of gameplay or so that I can drastically increase my base's footprint and go and actually expand out to some other copper veins. At which point it'll be trivial almost to set up more bullet assemblers. Otherwise, yeah, this is finally clear some tooltips. There comes the dark fog. Let's aggro them, pull them away from those wind turbines, and get them closer to the turrets. Yeah, I think at this point, it just suddenly feels like I've gained control in a way I haven't had throughout the run until now. Is just.
Yeah.
I didn't lose I'm not losing a single building in this assault. I wasn't even at very high energy or shield. I might have been at full shield, but I wasn't at very high energy when that started. And I got all of this random loot, which is really nice. And trying to clear out inventory space again is kind of a pain. That's I think been the biggest issue for me, has been trying to figure out what to do about all these extra items. I believe you can build chests to expand the storage of the battlefield analysis bases, but I don't have the tech yet for the larger chests, and I think you need the larger size of chest. But here I go trying to clean out my inventory a little bit, try and say, well, maybe I don't need all this glass or all this steel. Probably don't need the prisms, because I'm getting lots of the photon exciters. But fly back. Oh. Go and check technology, because I think... I let technology stop researching, which is not ideal. Get a couple more things, and then see if I can get any more of these useful things. At this point, I'm going to try the prototypes out, probably. Kinetic weapon damage 2 takes red cubes, unfortunately. All of those take red cubes. We can get energy circuit. That's good. I probably should take... Oh, and there is an assault coming on the other side of the base, and I'm not even there. I think this is the moment when it really sunk into me how good these battlefield analysis bases were. I wasn't even over here, and they took out a wave all on their own.
Yeah.
And we just got an achievement, which is kind of cool. Dust to dust. We've got 1 million soil piles from the dark fog, which is kind of ridiculous, but pretty funny in some ways.
Yeah, and I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, this is about where I wanted to wrap up for this session, just because I'm trying to do about a half hour per, and we're at about an hour and a half in the game, and at this point I'm feeling really confident about the base. I'm feeling pretty good about what's going to happen next. So yeah, thanks for watching, and catch you next time.